One of the biggest mistakes I see people make when they're consciously trying to create a different experience is believing they need to know how it's going to happen. They decide what they want. They choose a relationship, more money, better health, a new career, a different life experience. And then immediately their attention shifts to, but how? How will it happen? How will I meet them? How will the money come? How will this ever work out? How will I get from where I am now to where I want to be? And I understand why, because that's how most of us have been taught to think. We've been taught that if we don't know the path, we can't arrive at the destination. But I want to offer you a different way of looking at this. So let's start with something we've been talking about recently. Your assumptions matter, and not just your assumptions about your specific desire, your greater assumptions about life. Because if you're saying, I'm loved, I am chosen, everything works out for me, but underneath that, you're carrying assumptions like, life is hard, nothing ever works out, I'm on my own. See, I knew that was going to happen. I have to figure everything out myself. Then those assumptions are going to influence and overshadow receiving your desire. And one of the most common assumptions people carry is this: I have to know how. They don't even realize they're assuming it most of the time, but they are. They assume they must be able to see the path before they can trust the destination. Now, let me give you an analogy that has helped me tremendously. So think about the old paper road maps, the ones we used before GPS. Some of you may remember unfolding those giant maps in the car. The route was printed on the map, but once the map was printed, it was done. It couldn't update. So it didn't know about current traffic. It didn't know about construction or accidents that may have just happened. It didn't know a better route had become available. It was static. Now compare that to GPS. You enter the destination, the GPS calculates the route. If traffic appears, it reroutes. If a road closes, GPS reroutes. If a faster path becomes available, it reroutes. The destination remains the same. The route can change 100 times. And this is a good way to think about what many people call God, Source, infinite intelligence, higher self, life, or awareness. Call it whatever feels right to you. What matters is that there is an intelligence operating that can see more than your human mind can see. Not because your human mind isn't intelligent, simply because your human perspective is limited. You're looking through a keyhole. Infinite intelligence sees the entire house and everything around it. It sees people you haven't met, opportunities you couldn't know exist yet, conversations that haven't happened yet, connections forming right now that you're completely unaware of. It sees the routes you can't see, and this is where people can get stuck. They choose the destination and then spend the next 6 months arguing with the GPS When the GPS says turn here, they say, no, that can't be right. Or the GPS might say, there's a faster route. And they say, no, I already planned this one. The GPS might say, trust me. And they say, not until you explain everything. And that's exhausting and futile because the destination isn't the problem. The route isn't even the problem. The problem is the assumption that you must know how. But what if you don't? What if your job is not figuring out the route? What if your job is merely choosing the destination? What if your job is deciding what you'd like to experience and then imagine it, claim it, return to it, and allow life to reveal the path? That doesn't mean you sit on the couch and do nothing. It does mean you stop demanding that the entire path be visible before you're willing to move, and maybe even before you believe. It means you stop assuming that uncertainty means something is wrong. It means you stop assuming that because you can't see the route, no route exists. Because every time you've used a GPS, you've trusted the directions to places you couldn't yet see. You trusted because the destination was entered. The route unfolded as you traveled. And life works much the same way. Choose your destination. Consciously choose assumptions that support your arrival. Consciously choose assumptions about life in general that also support it. Yes, assume life supports you. Assume you're guided. Assume things are working out for you. And then allow the route to unfold. Because the truth is, you do not need to know how. You only need to know where. The GPS handles the route. Loves, it really is easier than most think, but only when you work with the process and stop fighting against it. If you need some help, reach out. And in the meantime, stay well.